Okay, so now let's do that Jared's way, which is pretty much the same math that we have to do, right? So if we're given 35 degrees, we put the 35 in here. So radians equals 35 over 360 times 2 pi. Well, what does that come out to be? Well, look, it comes out to be 70. R equals 70 pi over 360. And is he right that this is probably a faster method? Yeah, he's right that it's probably a faster method. The one good thing is that if we forget this method, we know that this is a proportion that will always work. Okay, so I want you to try these next ones. I first want you to put them on pause every time you're given one and see if you get the right answer before you look at my answers. So I'm going to ask you to try these, and then I'm going to write 5 more for you to do on your own, and we'll do them in class tomorrow. So number 1, what if the degrees are 315 degrees? Okay, so I'm going to do it with the proportion just because it's something that I know that I will never forget. Okay, and of course, if you like Jared's way, right, we can do Jared's way as well. So let's look at Jared's way. So radian equals degrees over 360 times 2 pi. Okay, either way, it's going to come out to be the exact same number. Okay, so we have 360 if we cross multiply radians equals 630, right? So divide everything through by 360. Oh, that's a little confusing. So R equals, where did my pi go? My pi is here. R equals 63 pi over 36, because I can simplify those tens out of that space. So this is divisible, these are both divisible by 9, so the radians equal 7 over 4 pi. 7 over 4 pi radians. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about how we can check that as well, but let's go and do Jared's way. R equals 315 over 360 times 2 pi. So we can say that again, this is 630 pi over 360. And this can simplify to R equals 63 pi over 36. And again, we have 7 pi over 4. Now you'll notice that 7 pi over 4 is bigger than pi, but less than 2 pi. And isn't that what we need, right? Because our final resting place is 2 pi. That's our 360. Agreed? Right? So our halfway point is pi, and that's at 180. So what's going to be in between pi and 2 pi? Well, this is 1 3/4 pi. Can you see that that's 1 3/4 pi? So that's going to be somewhere over here, 7 pi over 4. And so that's going to be pretty much right? Between 180 and 360. And so I know that 7 pi over 4 radians is the same thing as 315 degrees. So number 2. What if we want to find some degrees? What if I wanted you to find how many degrees are 3 pi over 5 radians equals how many degrees? Okay, again, we can set up our proportion. 2 pi over 3 pi over 5, because that's our radians, equals 360 over d. Okay, we could do that. So now we're going to cross multiply, and so that this can be a little confusing, so we're going to write everything down. I think this needs to be focused a little bit more. Okay, so we have 2 pi times d equals 360 times 3 pi over 5. We can always put that over 1, and let's simplify. How many 5s are in 360? I simply do that on my calculator. There are 72, so 1 and 72. So 72 times 3. So I have 2 pi d equals 216 pi. And what do I have to do? I have to divide by 2 pi on both sides to get my d alone, right? So d equals, the pi's, they don't cancel, right? They simplify into a 1. And 216 divided by 2 is 108. So we can say that 108 degrees is equal to 3 pi over 5 radians. Okay, and again, can we do it Jared's way? Absolutely. So let's remember what Jared's way was. Radians equal degrees over 360 times 2 pi. So if I know my radians are 3 pi over 5, but I don't know my degrees, so this can get a little bit trickier. 2 pi times d over 360, because remember this is just over 1, so I just multiply the numerator and the denominator. And now I'm going to cross multiply, so it might be better off to do it this way on this one. So when we're looking for the degrees, it might be better to just do it with our proportion. But let's do it anyway. So I cross multiply. I get 10 pi d equals 360 times 3 is 1080 pi. And now I'm going to divide by 10 pi on both sides to get my d alone, right? I'm going to get my d alone by simplifying that. And look at that. My pi's simplify to 1. 110 takes out one of those 10s, and d equals 108 degrees. So either way you do it, you're going to get the same answer. Okay, so I'm going to put 5 of these on the paper, and we're going to do them in class tomorrow, but I want you to try them today. Okay, number 1. How many radians are in 137 degrees? Okay, so that's going to be, and I want this in terms of pi, okay, and keep it in a fraction. Okay, number 2. How many radians are, here's a harder one, 720 degrees. Think about this one before you do all the math. Number 3, how many radians are 190 degrees? And now we're going to mix it up. 4 pi over 7 radians equals how many degrees? And 8 pi over 9 radians equals how many degrees? And see if you can think about where these are going to fall before you actually do the math. Okay, see you tomorrow. Or actually, I'll see you Thursday.